Olympic athletes submit their bodies to grueling training. And then they soar around the world to meet the competition. American East Coast athletes traveled 5 time zones to get to London. West Coast athletes leapt over 8. And increased the odds that they'll get a cold, if not the gold. So says a study in the British Journal of Sports Medicine. Researchers tracked 259 elite rugby players in the 2010 Super 14 rugby tournament. The 16 weeks of games took place in Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand. On average, there were 21 illnesses per 1,000 player days, but players in their home countries endured only 15 illnesses per 1,000 days. And when a team traveled more than 5 time zones in either direction, illnesses rates more than doubled. The number dropped back to 10 after they flew back home. The illnesses were primarily infections, such as respiratory or intestinal illnesses. The weakened immune system does not appear to be a factor. The researchers suggest that differences in temperature, pollution, allergens, and different foods and local microbes are the likeliest culprits. One more element that might give European Olympians a home field advantage. Immanuel Kant spoke often about the sublime, and specifically how art becomes more sublime when beauty mixes with terror. Now research provides some support for this philosophical viewpoint. Scientists had 85 subjects experience one of 5 different things. One group watched a brief scary movie, another group watched a happy movie, and 2 other groups performed either 30 or 15 jumping jacks. The control group did nothing. Then all the subjects looked at 4 abstract paintings, for 30 seconds each, by a Russian artist, L. Lisitsky, and they rated the art, based on qualities of how inspiring, stimulating, rousing, boring, forgetful or uninteresting the piece was for them. The group that watched the scary movie rated the art as more sublime and positive than any other of the groups. In fact, the other 4 groups did not significantly differ in their ratings. We might not think of describing art as frightening. The researchers note, however, that art can be surprising, elicit goosebumps, and inspire awe. Who knew that pairing The Walking Dead with a trip to the Museum of Modern Art would make the entire experience more sublime? If you're thinking about upgrading to Apple's new iPhone 5 when it debuts in a few weeks, you're going to have to figure out what to do with your current device. Given how much we've come to rely on these gadgets for storing pictures, contacts, and personal information, some serious privacy issues should be considered before selling, recycling, or trading in your old phone. Typically, you restore factory settings on your smartphone before parting ways. But a couple of recent articles on NBCnews.com and Yahoo.com find that factory resets are inconsistent, depending on the phone. BlackBerry and Apple resets appear to delete and scrub personal data the best, according to data retrieval experiments described in the articles. But Android and Microsoft smartphones weren't as good at wiping important information. In the Yahoo article, computer analyst Steve Burgess recommends that, in addition to the factory reset, you should remove a phone's memory and SIM cards before turning it in. Robert Siciliano's advice in the NBC News.com story was a bit more severe. He recommends a drill, a sledgehammer, and bucket of salt water. Having a kid changes everything, from your sleep schedule to the status of that formerly spare room. The stable of bacteria that live in a woman's gut is also transformed when their host becomes pregnant. So finds research in the journal Cell. The study looked at women in Finland. The women's microbial makeup changed dramatically between the first and third trimesters. The array of microbes in the gut went from looking normal in the first 3 months of a pregnancy to resembling what's found in patients suffering from metabolic disease in the last 3. But some of the symptoms of that condition, like weight gain and slower sugar metabolism, can be beneficial to pregnant women, supporting energy storage that helps a fetus develop. Other symptoms, like inflammation, demonstrate that the immune system is functioning properly as a pregnancy comes to term. Scientists don't yet fully understand what brings about the changes in gut bacteria. Immune function is a suspect, but factors like hormonal signals aren't ruled out. The research suggests that other changes to the body, like puberty or old age, could also bring about microbial makeovers. Touchdown confirmed. We are safe on Mars. The control room at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory late in the evening of August 5, Pacific Time, when word arrived that the Curiosity rover had landed safely on Mars. The 1-ton rover, which dwarfs all Mars landers that came before it, will now spend a planned 2 years exploring the Martian surface. The mission is expected to cost $2.5 billion. Curiosity's task is to investigate the inside of Gale Crater, where a giant mound of sedimentary deposits may provide evidence of a wetter, possibly habitable Mars billions of years ago. But first it had to survive an elaborate landing sequence, which appears to have gone smoothly. Curiosity landed on time and on target and soon beamed back grainy photos of its wheels and its shadow. Given the car-like size of the rover and the challenges of landing on Mars, Curiosity's landing goes down as one of the greatest parking jobs in history. With more and more car accidents attributed to distracted driving, it's become clear just how dangerous it can be to fiddle with your cell phone while behind the wheel. Now it seems more and more people are failing to safely use their mobile gadgets while walking. The number of distracted walkers injured seriously enough to be treated at hospital emergency rooms have more than quadrupled in the past 7 years, according to the Associated Press. That's not even counting the untold incidents of stubbing your toe or doing that little trip-run move across the sidewalk. These hospital cases are people who get hit by cars, fall off curbs or even onto train tracks because they're too busy texting, surfing the web or in some other way too distracted to watch where they're going. There were about 1,150 such incidents last year. There isn't any hard evidence yet that proves pedestrian gadget distraction increases the chances of pedestrian mishaps. Still, it's hard to argue with the anecdotal evidence available at the nearest street corner. Perhaps you've seen the video of the walker in California who's concentrating so hard on his mobile device that he almost bumps into a bear. Don't be that guy. As a kindergarten teacher might say, sharing is caring. She might not mention that cooperation is also a great way to form a community, and thus improve everyone's chances of survival. Humans aren't the only ones to apply this strategy. Marine bacteria also form cooperative populations, according to a study in the journal Science. Researchers examined the genomes of bacteria belonging to the Vibrianaceae family. In the lab, they grouped together bacteria with similar genetics that coexist in the same microhabitat. The scientists expected that within any given population, individuals capable of producing antibiotics would use these chemical weapons against others. But when they looked at interactions between different strains of Vibrianaceae, they found that only a few members of any given population could produce the bacteria-killing substances, and the rest of that community was resistant to those particular compounds. But the antibiotics could fight off foreign populations, while leaving members of the home group unharmed. This arrangement implies a bacterial social structure where individuals help the group as a whole. Crayon-hoarding toddlers might want to take note. Japan's Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant suffered 3 meltdowns last year. Paired with hydrogen explosions, these meltdowns allowed radioactive material to escape. So what's the effect on the environment and human health? The first clues come from what's called the pale grass blue butterfly. This delicate insect's wings change color and pattern in response to environmental changes. The offspring of female butterflies caught in the Fukushima region 6 months after the meltdown sported such color pattern changes, as well as deformed legs, antennae, wings, and even eyes. The deformities persisted and got worse in the second generation of offspring as well. The same deformities were found in butterflies collected from the wild. And the researchers induced similar effects by exposing normal butterflies to radiation from cesium particles like those that escaped Fukushima Daiichi. The research is in the journal Nature Scientific Reports. As for people, more than 3,000 individuals from a town 23 kilometers north of the stricken nuclear plant also bore detectable levels of radioactive cesium in their bodies. Their total dose of less than 1 millisievert is considered safe, and no radiation sickness was observed. But, says a report in the Journal of the American Medical Association, the men, women, and children exposed need to be watched for the long-term effects of the radiation, for the rest of their lives. Meetings, calls, kids, dogs, errands, exercise, and all those emails. Who doesn't feel starved for time these days? But a new study suggests that you can feel like you have more time by donating some to others. The research is in the journal Psychological Science. There really are only 24 hours in a day, 7 or 8 of which are, ideally, spent sleeping. And a time commitment does take time. But researchers found that if people felt like they had done something for others, their perception was that they had gotten more done than people who killed time, spent time on themselves, or got unexpected free time. And that made them feel like they had more time overall. You don't even have to spend your whole Sunday volunteering. The helping tasks in the study took only about 5 to 15 minutes. They included things like editing a student's essay or writing a note to a sick child. Time donators also felt like they could do more with their time, making them even more willing to give time in the future. Are we smarter than the dinosaurs? Specifically, are we clever enough to avoid their fate? If we don't want to be blown away by an asteroid, it would help to know what's out there. That's the idea behind the Sentinel mission. Sentinel is an infrared space telescope designed to spot near-Earth asteroids. But it won't be near Earth. It will launch in 2017 or 18 and adopt a Venus-like orbit around the Sun. From there, it will search space for any asteroids that might come dangerously close to Earth. It could double the known count of near-Earth asteroids in a matter of weeks. With enough warning, we'd have a chance to deflect an inbound asteroid. Sentinel is the brainchild of the B612 Foundation. B612 was the asteroid home of literature's Little Prince. The group announced their plans for Sentinel on June 28. But those plans depend on funding. The B612 Foundation is a non-profit that aims to finance Sentinel through philanthropy. Former NASA astronaut Ed Lu heads the foundation. He says Sentinel needs a few $100 million to get off the ground. That's a lot of cash, but the B612 Foundation might make it. After all, when it comes to fundraising, humans leave the dinosaurs in the dust.